Hi everyone, this is episode 9. The topic for today is how the entrapment-based technique can force the victim to take forced mental treatment. And the Chinese ISIS women need your support. First, I would introduce what kind of entrapment-based techniques I experience which lead me to take forced mental treatment 3 times in the last several years. My first story happened in the summer 2024 after I was poisoned by neo-Nazis in New Orleans. Then I went to the nearest university hospital for blood testing. When I was talking to the major doctor, I explained to him about what happened to me, how I was persecuted. Instead of giving me consolation, the male doctor immediately forced me to take mental treatment in the psychiatry department of his hospital. As a rule of thumb, any forced mental treatment for the non-mental illness person, you should try to avoid mentioning that you are stalked, persecuted. Because in the rubrics of the mental doctors, they would deem those people who label themselves who are constantly being stalked, persecuted, as paranoid or having mental illness. Even though in real life you are stalked or persecuted, but when you are confined or lose your freedom in mental hospital, you should hide what you really experience in real life. Because if you keep insisting you are persecuted, stalked, poisoned, the mental hospital doctor would keep double or triple your dosage because they deem this description as the signs of craziness. If you can show the police report or let them find the evidence to show that you are really stalked or persecuted, maybe the doctors can forgive you and set you free. But it's not that easy. So if you cannot find evidence from police directly, I would advise you to avoid or prevent yourself from saying you are stalked or persecuted for your well-being and fast release. My second story happened also in 2024 it's at the end of 2024 when I was traveling from New Orleans to New York City by flight. A white-looking lady who might wear a 3D printed mask sat behind me on the flight. She caused me to experience concentrated back pain. Then I asked her if she shot ultrasound or radiation to my back. She denied. As I questioned her a little bit more, she called the police by phone on the flight. When the flight just landed at NYC, a group of at least 4 or 5 police officers approached me and arrested me, and then sent me to mental department of a hospital in New York for forced treatment. Similar situation happened again in the last year in May in London. A female Chinese spy lady who faked as a Muslim woman deliberately triggered my anger by staring at me like looking at an ape on a tube at Barking Tube Station. Then I expressed my anger towards her by just asking why she stared at me in such an offensive way. She kept denying and became impatient. As she kept enticing me to show anger, she called the transport police. And later, 2 police officers handcuffed me and sent me to one hospital for assessment and sent me to another hospital for false treatment. After arriving there a week or two, I suddenly realized that my irritable temper on that day is related to food poisoning, which made me easy to get angry. So for my third story, I would recommend everyone, if you want to prevent yourself from forced mental treatment, if you are not a mental illness patient, it's better to be aware of the food or drink you had. Try to prevent yourself from being poisoned. And also, if anyone approach you or try to show anger or entice you to become angry, it's better to stay away from those people immediately or as far as you can for your safety, because you never know who they really are. They may have relations to local law enforcement groups, and they can easily let the police to arrest you. So for your safety, stay away from any suspicious people around you, regardless of who they look like or what they are talking to you. Based on my 3 life stories, I kept asking myself why my enemies enjoyed sending me to mental hospital. Did they do some secret neo-Nazi research project on me during my hospitalization? When I was hospitalized, I don't know what happened during my sleep. So if they did something during my sleep, I have no idea about how I can prevent this from happening. Also, I read the stories of Chinese targeted individuals who experienced severe and long-term brain control were almost genocided in recent several years. And in 2008, when I was 22 years old, the neo-Nazis intentionally gave me the damage level brain testing to intentionally introduce the brain damage or even try to murder me in that year. Thank God I survived that extreme level torture after 2 years of unbelievable healing process. I don't think there are good medication to treat those kind of illness. But I feel weird that my step-parents insisted, and also a mental doctor, they all insisted to give me mental drugs from 2008. I kept taking it for more than 15 years. In 2024, after I took a blood testing, I accidentally found I had been poisoned by a certain chemical for many years, because that index showed that the level of poisoning existed for at least 10 years. So at that moment, I told myself I should never even touch that medication again. So I really could not understand why my step-parents and my previous mental doctor in China and some neo-Nazis I met overseas kept cheating me and other people by labeling me as a crazy person. Did they want to hide the truth about their secret military level brain science research project by deliberately introducing the brain damage to my brain? They want to use mental medication to cover up the symptoms of brain damage. And while a lot of high IQ people, especially scientists, professors, were secretly murdered and substituted by low achievers in recent 10 years, the deceased scientists and professors' brain goes through anatomy and research projects, related studies. I don't know. As one of the limited survivors who successfully left China in 2017, I feel like I'm quite fortunate and blessed. They would only allow me to leave China if I get a PhD offer. I can imagine if I only get a visitor visa, they would not allow me to leave China. So the realization of my childhood 7-year-old dream to pursue my PhD in the US actually extended my lifespan already. I would always give thanks to all the people who supported me to make this dream to happen and conclusion. The second topic for today is about Chinese ISIS women. I might be one of the so-called Chinese ISIS women. And in recent several years, China and Mongolia worked together to genocide the Chinese ISIS women, including famous Chinese American professors, scientists, female Chinese professors, my previous lovely colleagues and friends. I feel like the number of them are not less, they are a lot. They are all extremely excellent Chinese females. They have high IQ and good occupation and education background. But why they were murdered one by one, I feel extremely concerning. And as I read more of similar information, I found a rule. They would not allow the Chinese ISIS woman to live over 45 years old. Neo-Nazis would call the implant which was installed into these women's female organ as accessories or decorations. Who installed this accessory to innocent Chinese female? I think the answer is neo-Nazis. When such implant was installed, I think this installation happened before 4 or 5 years old of these Chinese ladies. Why the victims often have no knowledge about the existence of the implant? Because these innocent Chinese ladies, even though they are very smart ladies, they could not get the right diagnosis wherever they are. I'm among one of them. Previously, I took multiple scanning, like ultrasound scanning, of my woman's organ, but there was no doctor telling me what happened. They always told me, "You are fine, you are healthy." So if you cannot get the right diagnosis, how these victims can get the support? I don't think they can get support if they cannot show the proof or evidence. And also, China and Mongolia often work together to control these victims wherever they are. In 2020, one of my previous Chinese Christian friends reminded me of not going back to China after graduation from LSU. After she reminded me that she suffered unexpected on-campus stalking, harassment, radiation attack, and potential cancer treatment. Her name is Xiaoyuan Cao. I would always remember her goodness, and I hope that God can help her and protect her wherever she is. As one of the ISIS women from China, I found that more people like me, regardless of our visa status, even for those ladies who might have green cards or citizenship, China and Mongolia neo-Nazi groups can easily deport those Chinese ISIS women or imprison those innocent women as terrorists. So I believe there are more innocent Chinese ISIS women like me who need support, because those women are the most brightest and high intelligent Chinese female who were chosen by neo-Nazis when they were at the infant ages. As they grow older, their excellence keep growing up. So I would believe a lot of them may live overseas. But as the genocide wave continues, will these women being genocided as well? I think it's highly likely. They can be genocided through deportation or imprisonment or terrorism. And I believe the neo-Nazi treats these Chinese ISIS women's brains as valuable organs for their secret neo-Nazi military projects as well. So that's why I realize this wave of high IQ people genocide includes a lot of targeted groups, not only academia, but also industry and Chinese ISIS women and targeted individual groups, etc. As one of the innocent Chinese ISIS women, I need your support if you can. And any advice or comments from you are highly appreciated. That's the end of my today's recording. May God bless you all. Thank you.